from one great presentation to the next. And we are very happy to have Elsa DeGoias. I'm really not sure about pronunciation, but she uploaded the presentation. So forget pronunciation. Let's just dive into the pictures that she has there. She's the Senior Analyst, Disability Inclusion and ADA Compliance in Royal Caribbean Group. And Elsa will speak about emergency preparedness for people with disabilities at cruise ships. Please,
hello.
Forward.
Great. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. What we see
Wonderful.
is not on presentation mode. We see the small with comments. If that doesn't bother you,
that's fine. So let me tell you, I just wanted to be different. No, I'm kidding. It just, for some reason, my new PowerPoint that was uploaded is uploading this way, and no matter what I do, it's coming out. So I don't care. We're all family, and I wanted to say, it doesn't matter. We're going to just get the content going and get the presentation rolling. So yes, my name is Elsa DeGoias. I am a white female with glasses and salt and pepper hair, aging myself. I've been working with Royal Caribbean for a year now, but I've also been working in disabilities, like I said earlier, aging myself for over 25 years. I do want to say first, before I get started, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank Javal and the team and Access Israel for this wonderful opportunity to discuss with you a little bit today our cruise line emergency preparedness for persons with disabilities, which is extremely complex sometimes, but today we're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it as simple as we can. So the first thing I want to tell you all is that, as you know, we are governed by many, maritime laws, and we have strong standards. And one of the areas that we must follow standards with is the International Maritime Organization. We call it IMO. The IMO gives us our standards for many things: safety training, escape routes, safety documentation, and what we call safety of life and sea. Like Ben said earlier, it's all about preparation and planning. We have to continue and start with preparation and planning constantly. So safety of life at sea actually gives us a mandate that we must have a list of people with persons with disabilities as a requirement before the person even gets on our ship. So right when they book our cruises, they must give us, hopefully self-disclose, and we must have that on a list. However, sometimes people don't self-disclose. So we have our stateroom attendants and all our staff always observing to see if we have someone that may not have, for whatever reason, may have not self-disclosed. So see if we can add additional individuals with disabilities to that list to keep it as current as possible in case of, God forbid, an emergency, to see how we can assist them. Our staff is constantly being trained on our ships on evacuation procedures for persons with disabilities. Constantly, we're having safety briefings, and our muster drills have changed tremendously. We have an actual app that we actually put on our phones. I don't know if anybody of you have cruised with us, but with this app has an emergency preparedness drill, and it has an emergency preparedness video training, which I'll share with you in a few minutes. And through this app, we do our muster drill. That doesn't stop us from actually going to the muster drill, though. We have to go to the actual drill station, quote unquote, before we start the cruising, even though we do everything on, but not like before. I don't know if anybody cruised before or have been on vessels. It's not like before we have to put jackets on. We had to put everyone in front of certain muster drills. Now it's all done via electronics. On that actual app, we actually have an emergency preparedness video. We also have, like I said earlier, our emergency preparedness training for all our staff to be able to handle individuals with disabilities, persons with disabilities. And there's many things involved. For example, we have the forehand crossing, which I've showed here, where if an individual's on a wheelchair and we need to move them either from their wheelchair to their lifeboat or to the wheelchair to another area, we actually have staff that will come and do the forehand crossing. We also have, I call it the piggyback, is maybe not the correct term, but the piggyback, we need to get an individual in the front and an individual in the back to try to get our individuals on wheelchairs to a safe space. And it goes on and on with other safety. Also, we have emergency call systems. Our emergency call systems, as you can see here on the right, I didn't want you all to see a toilet, so I cut it. You can see here, you have an actual emergency call system, which we use, which are actually now on our beds and our public restrooms. We use our emergency vest, of course, if we need to go into a lifeboat. And we also use our walkie-talkies. And actually, our emergency alarm are 7 short signs and 1 long. When these alarms ring, that is the time that we all must look whether we are to look in the back of our doors of our stateroom, or look at our CPAS and look at what muster station we must go to, because then that is when there is an actual bigger emergency and we have to actually go to a lifeboat. We actually have, we use the walkie-talkies for a few emergencies that I'm going to share with you in a few minutes, where we don't want to start havoc and panic for any emergency. So our teams use walkie-talkies with special codes for simpler emergency calls. Let's go to the next slide. For example, our windy weather. We had an actual event where we had very high winds, and one of our ships actually lifted from one of the front or the back. I believe it was the front, and we actually had to see what we were going to do. So what we did was we did what we call the guests. We kept them on the muster where they are. Muster where they are means the emergency is not an emergency where it requires a lifeboat. It requires the actual guests to stay mainly where they are. Now, if they're in the area where the shift is lifting, we move them to another area, but closest to the air, but away from the area, but not going down to the muster stations. Because again, we want to keep, when they actually looked at the emergency, they didn't think it was an emergency where we needed to move and create all the movement at that time. So everybody stayed put with all our support and help from all our staff to keep our guests safe and move them away from the area, but within the area, if that makes any sense. We also have what we call sometimes a controlled fire, which is a second scenario, which is, again, one of the other reasons we use walkie-talkies. Because the moment you say fire, people panic. So if it's a controlled fire, we want to, again, maintain the control, evaluate the situation, make sure that we can extinguish the fire. And if we can, we shelter in place by moving individuals away from the fire. But of course, not necessarily another one of those emergencies that, thank God, we need to put everyone in safety boats. So just in summary, we have a lot of international maritime organization regulations, as you know, for persons with disabilities. We have the SOLAS guidelines, which is what I shared earlier, which is the list that we are mandated to do and have updated with individuals with persons with disabilities on our ships. We do a lot of safety briefings and safety trainings and drills. They're done weekly, if not, in some boats they're done very, very, very often. We do it constantly, and we do actual scenarios. We actually prepare the scenarios so that the staff gets really ready for, God forbid, something happens. We have the safety trainings and drills constantly. And one of the key things for our actual staff to do is what we call situational awareness, keeping ourselves aware of our surroundings, keeping ourselves aware of the persons with disabilities. Where are they? What type of disability? Not only on our documentation, but also for where they are. So we are all trained on that wonderful situational awareness, because we're constantly preparing and planning in order for us to avoid an emergency, because nobody wants that, as we all know. And especially, we don't want to have an emergency where we have to take individuals all the way out of the ship. If we have to do it, we do it. They're prepared. They're prepared to, do whatever we need to do to get all our persons with disabilities to safety according to training. But overall, it's all about preparation. It's all about planning. It's all about constant training and education. And that's what we're constantly doing on all our ships. and with all our staff, with all our individuals that we work with. So I hope this was helpful. I kept it simple. If anybody has any questions or anybody would like to contact me, I've left my information on the screen. Feel free to email me.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And we have to schedule when we're coming to your cruise ship for training and purple vesting everything. It would be an amazing combination.
It would be, yeah.
Yeah, and I must say this is a return visit of your company in our webinars with amazing accessibility solutions that you have presented in our tourism episode. So
yes, actually, my director Ron Pettit was very sad that he couldn't join us today. So
well, he's receiving pictures as we speak. So we're thank you so much.
Thank you. We're here for you. In any way we can help you and anyone here, please feel free to reach out, and we will gladly work and continue working together. We love the partnership. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.